Hello, and welcome back to our channel, Screenplay Recaps. Today I will recap the comedy movie called Miracle in Cell Number 7. The film is based on the true story of an innocent man who was tortured and beaten to confess murder of a 9-year-old girl. So let's dive into it. We start in a room where a police officer gives Yi-sung a bunch of case documents because she is a lawyer. And he says this isn't going to be an easy case. She then thanked him.
죄진 게 없는데 왜 이렇게 떨려?
Then we see Yi-sung, the prison warden, and the prison room's 7 inmates attend Yong-goo's trial to prove his innocence. Yong-goo was charged and sentenced to prison for a crime he didn't commit. Prosecutor begins presenting the picture of the crime scene and claims Lee Yong-goo abducted and murdered the young girl Choi Ji-young with a brick. Prosecutor also said there is no need for a retrial. Everything is clear and transparent. The forensic report already proved it. Then Yi-sung says all the evidence and testimonies are fabricated. The old lawyer didn't handle the case well. She appeals for the reinvestigation of the case. Prosecutor asked her, "Were you there when the incident occurred?" She said she didn't witness the accident but was watching the entire investigation.
이상입니다.
She starts her story by narrating how it all began in 1997, with 6-year-old Yi-sung and her father, Yong-goo, who is mentally disabled, singing and staring into a store window admiring a Sailor Moon backpack. She asked her father to purchase the Sailor Moon bag cause that was the only one left in the shop. Yong-goo urged her to wait until tomorrow because that day is payday. In the meantime, another customer purchased the last available bag. He immediately enters the shop and starts childishly requesting the customer and his child not to buy the bag. The customer was a police commissioner, so he assaulted and kicked him out of the store. Later in the evening, Yong-goo promises that he'll get her the Sailor Moon bag, and they both fall asleep. The following day she gives a water bottle to her father and requests him not to drink tap water. Yi-sung takes the best possible care of her father despite her early age. Even their goodbye style is unique. Yong-goo and Yi-sung have nothing except each other, and the relationship between father and daughter is unbreakable. While having lunch in the mall parking lot, the commissioner's daughter approaches him to tell him about another place selling Sailor Moon backpacks. Therefore he follows her. Unfortunately, the young girl slips while running on the icy market pavement, and a brick falls on her head and kills her. As he finds her unconsciously lying on the ground, Yong-goo immediately tries to give her CPR and takes off her pants to better her blood circulation, but the woman nearby misinterprets him and calls the police. She reports him as a murderer. That evening Yi-sung is waiting for him outside the home. At the same time, the police are questioning Yong-goo regarding the incident at the police station. Journalists are taking photographs, and he worries that his daughter is alone at home and wants to leave. When he attempts to leave, the police start torturing him, and all of it is being filmed. The following day police bring him to the crime scene for reenactment. Police push him to do a false reenactment if he wants to meet his daughter. The police force him to take off his pants to present him as a rapist. Since the little girl was the commissioner's daughter, the police were eager to file charges against Yong-goo immediately and put him in prison. Whether he is guilty or not doesn't matter to them. Yi-sung also arrived at the scene. When she approaches him, a policeman grabs her and apart them. They then directly transport him to prison. Warden was already extremely angry with him because he murdered a minor. Yong-goo is desperate to make a phone call, so he tries calling Yi-sung from the phone. The warden shortly beats him up. Afterward, the guard transfers and locks him in cell number 7 with 5 other offenders. His cellmates start beating him terribly after reading his charge sheet.
1심, 4형.
The teacher introduces Yi-sung to children in foster care in the dining area. Prisoners are not only making football, they are also using football to smuggle stuff inside the prison with the help of the gang leader. That day the other rival gang is planning to kill the gang leader, and Yong-goo understands. When the attacker tries to attack the leader with a sharp knife, Yong-goo comes forward to save the leader's life, but Yong-goo gets injured. Due to this act, Yong-goo earns the gang's respect, and the leader wants him to repay his kindness.
괜찮아. 그래서 말해봐.
Yong-goo said he wanted to see his daughter, and the leader agreed. They then hear the real story and believe that he is innocent. His cellmates include Bon-shik, a pickpocket, Chun-hoo, a scammer, Man Byum, an adulteress, Young-ho, a smuggler and gang leader. Finally, Grandpa Seo is also a fraudster. Later in the evening, a church chorus band comes to the prison. Yi-sung is a part of it. The warden is shocked to see kids because that has never happened before, but suddenly a guard comes to tell him a senior official is calling him, which is urgent. Meanwhile, Man Byum kidnaps Yi-sung from the stage to transport her into cell number 7, inside a box. They hug and cry together. Young-gu explains to her this is a prison, only convicts stay there, but he is not a sinful person. Unfortunately, the chorus wasn't up to par, so it wrapped up sooner than anticipated. Yi-sung doesn't want to leave and wants to stay with Young-gu. Anyway, they convince her to leave prison. But when Man Byum rushes to smuggle her, the bus has already gone, so he doesn't have a choice except bring her back to the cell. She started living among them, and they enjoyed the time together. After a while, a gang member comes up with an idea to get her out to the coming event. Cellmates were worried that their sentence would be extended if the warden found out about her. One night Yi-sung spoke loudly. Duty patrol guard hears the sound and shows up and inquires about it. Then one inmate says he was mimicking the girl's voice. Yi-sung enjoys the cat and mouse game. The following day they try to get her out of prison again, and bad luck strike again because it is a Buddha event.
야, 이 새끼야. 그렇게 애 머리를 빡빡 깎아서라도 내보냈어야지.
Well, the bad luck hasn't been over. Warden looks at the Christianity events photos and notices one picture has 3 kids and the other has 2, which worries him. So he orders the guards to check every corner of each cell. They try hard to hide her. However, Warden caught them. After brutally assaulting Young-gu, the warden puts him in solitary confinement. That night the rival gang's leader put fire to his cell to meet his father. Prisoners panicked. Warden ordered the guards to evacuate prisoners from the cells. The warden breaks into the cell to save his life, unfortunately gets stuck inside the cell due to heavy fire. When Young-gu sees the warden stuck in the fire, he jumps in to save him without caring about his life. The next morning when the warden wakes up, doctor informs him that Young-gu had saved his life while also suffering an injury.
근데 이놈아 진짜로 유기범 맞아요.
Yi-sung has returned to school to attend class. Then Yi-sung convinced her teacher to take her to see her father. Young-gu gets overwhelmingly excited to see her. Unfortunately, they couldn't conclude the conversation due to time constraints, and the guard cut off the microphone. Warden watched the entire scene, and the guard dragged him off by force. Later in the evening, Warden remembers his son killed by the prisoner. Warden finds out Young-gu's daughter is sick, so he visits her in the hospital. The teacher said they would transfer her to a countryside orphanage because of a tight budget.
같이 잡아가시면 안 돼요?
A guard delivers a gift box to cell number 7, and when they open it, Yi-sung appears. Young-gu goes on to say thanks to the warden. The warden asked him why did you kill Choi? Later, warden visited Young-gu's case investigating officer and asked him to see the case file.
이용구 자필 진술서 맞아?
He immediately realizes that Young-gu's statement is falsified and was all framed because it was the commissioner's daughter's case. So the police didn't look into the facts and wrap up the matter quickly. Meanwhile, in prison, Yi-sung is teaching reading and writing to Young-gu. She also borrows a cell phone from a classmate to help heartbroken Bon-shik to communicate with his pregnant wife. He rarely finds the signal but learns he has a daughter. She will soon be called Shin Bong-sun. The next day, Young-gu was jogging. A guard informed him of the trial date and advised him to prepare himself for the trial.
쓰러졌다고? 그럼 뭐 그냥 그렇게 죽은 거야?
He then told the entire incident to fellow inmates that he heard Choi scream, and when he reached there, her head was bleeding, so he tried to save her by giving her CPR. Inmates were confused. Why did he pull off her pant? He informs them it's a CPR process that helps circulate the blood better. But they are still confused about how someone can die by just falling. Therefore, they recreate the scene and try all possible scenarios to understand better. But the forehead injury is still a mystery to them. He usually uses his hands whenever someone falls. Young-gu suddenly remembers that the brick was next to her. When she was lying on the floor, they then demonstrated, and it's all clear she died by falling off a brick on her head. Meanwhile, Warden meets the commissioner and asks to reinvestigate the case because Young-gu is innocent. Commissioner asked whether he had ever lost a child. Warden replied he had lost because of his favorite prisoner. The inmate educates him to answer the prosecution's questions expertly. Yonggu practiced day and night to remember the question answers. Later, public defender meets him and forces him to confess, otherwise, the commissioner would hurt Yi-sung. The warden handed the attorney the signed documents from the detainees, but the attorney declined to accept them. He also shows Yonggu's confession letter and tells him that Yonggu is not capable of writing a letter. The next day, when Yonggu was memorizing the answers before trial in the waiting room, the commissioner burst into the room, threatening to murder his daughter if he didn't plead guilty. Yonggu doesn't have a choice. Under duress, Yonggu confesses in the courtroom that he killed the commissioner's daughter to protect Yi-sung from that evil man. Warden tries to convince the judge that Yonggu is mentally intimated, but no one listens, and Yonggu is announced the death sentence. Afterward, Yonggu meets Yi-sung in prison every day. When the warden received the letter, he got shocked to see Yonggu's execution date was December 23rd. Unfortunately, it's the same day Yi-sung's birthday. Everyone is worried an innocent man will be hanged to death. Every Christmas, the jail organizes a special event for prisoners to meet their families. As a result, the convicts devise a scheme to free Yonggu from jail. Meanwhile, the warden meets with the teacher to prepare a choir presentation in jail, and insists that Yi-sung be given a day off to visit her father one more time because Yi-sung will never be able to see her father again. Showtime, guys! The A-team is here! They start making hot balloon to flee Yonggu from prison with his daughter, and they all work around the clock to finish it on time because the execution date is very close. Everything is set on the event day, even the teachers are involved in the plan. Yi-sung brings Yonggu to the yard during the choir event, and other kids follow suit to reassure the security personnel that this is a part of the program. The guards attempt to stop them, but the convicts and teachers surround the guards and make a clear path for Yonggu's escape. Unfortunately, the balloon's rope becomes tangled in barbed wire, and the A-team's plan gets unsuccessful. Oh my goodness, what a misfortune! They then celebrate Yi-sung's birthday before the execution. Every cellmate gives her gifts, and Yonggu gives her the Sailor Moon backpack. Yi-sung bows down and thanks him for being such a great father. After that, they all get very emotional, hiding Yonggu's execution from Yi-sung and telling her he is being transferred to another cell. Yonggu says, "Goodbye," and thanks to everyone in cell number 7. When they are about to separate, Yonggu hugs her for the last time. His eyes burst into tears, and they wish Merry Christmas each other. Guard then escorted him toward the execution. But when he heard her crying, he came back and hugged her tight. They both cry hard, apologize, and ask for help from everyone. However, Yonggu was executed on December 23rd for false accusations. Back to the present, she says that police forced Yonggu to sign false statements. Choi died due to an injury to the back of her head, and her autopsy showed no sign of strangling. Police also disregarded it.
피고인 이용구에게 무죄를 선고하다.
The judge considers the statements and evidence are forged. He ordered the reinvestigation of Lee Yonggu's case. The court finds Lee Yonggu innocent and not guilty. The entire court is flooded with joy. Finally, Yi-sung looks at the cable linked to the balloon and imagines that Yonggu and little Yi-sung are waving at her. She continues to smile and stare at them. So that was Miracle in Cell Number 7. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and turn on the notification so you won't miss the next recap. Until then, cheers!